I'm here in Petaca, New Mexico at the North Star deposit for a few days with my good friend Phil to do some camping and rock hounding. While taking a break, I want to spend a little time showing off my latest radiation detection instruments. I have two new designs that are a result of many years of experience collecting hot rocks in the field. So, Phil, you've been using my gammaDog for a couple of years now. What would you say is its primary purpose?
Well, Charles, I'd have to say that I like the beautiful music it makes to entertain me while I'm wandering through the wilderness looking for places to dig.
Well, that's interesting, Phil. I'm glad you enjoy the dulcet tones that the gammaDog emits. It makes the whole rock hounding experience more pleasant, but there is actually a more important consideration that drives my design. You will notice that my meters don't have a lot of bells and whistles. That is because they are designed to do one thing well, and that is to find hot rocks. If a particular feature does not lead to finding more hot rocks, it is eliminated from my design. This keeps the instrument simple and reliable. So, with that in mind, I present my next generation of the gammaDog. It has been re-engineered to be smaller and lighter and even easier to use than the original. It features a new 3D printed enclosure and ergonomic handle to house the electronics and the probe. Speaking of the probe, I am standardizing on the very popular Cyanix 38B57 sodium iodide scintillator that is known for its sensitivity and high resolution. I've left the cap off to show you how the probe is installed in the new gammaDog. If you want to customize gammaDog with a bigger probe, I can accommodate that as well. Just send me an email. I'm now going to show how the new gammaDog works using this hot rock on the table. So you see it works just like the big gammaDog, and actually is quite sensitive up to a foot or so away.
That's good.
It'll detect the hot rock.
Quite a distance.
Right. If you watch my videos, you're very familiar with, how you set the squelch. You turn it on its side, and now it's a little bit deafer. You get a little bit closer to it. So, but that's the basic operation. The cap features just a power switch, a really heavy-duty, sturdy power switch, and then the charging port, and then an ergonomic handle that makes it real easy not only to carry it on a strap, but also to grab it, and when you're manipulating it in the hole, it works fantastic. Now, you might be asking yourself, Charles, don't you collect with a much bigger probe with a larger crystal? This is true, but Phil, do you know why I use a monster probe?
Is it for the exercise, Charles?
No, Phil. It is to find more hot rocks.
Oh.
However, there are other factors involved. For instance, when you're using a smaller probe like this all day long, it reduces fatigue compared to using my big monster probe, and you can actually potentially stay out longer finding more hot rocks. Another benefit to using a lighter instrument is that you can swing it faster, meaning you can walk faster and cover more territory. This can also lead to finding more hot rocks. So, there are a number of factors that are just as important, if not more so, than the size of the probe. To demonstrate this, I'm going to carry around both the original gammaDog and the new one today to see how they each perform. So Phil, how will I know which probe is performing better?
Well, they're both going to be singing like a duet. Does it have to do with which one sings better in tune?
No, Phil.
Oh.
It is which one finds more hot rocks. Let's move on. In my last video, I introduced the gamma line, which has the same features as the gammaDog. Plus, it is also a complete Eberline digital survey meter for taking accurate measurements over 6 scales ranging from times 100 to times 10 million. I supplemented the electronics in the case to add the gammaDog tones so it performs equally well for finding hot rocks. So it's going to have the probe down here in the stand, and all this is 3D printed, and the stand actually keeps the meter off the ground. And then of course the stand doubles as a hanger for the probe, and you can slide the probe around if you need to stick it deeper in a hole, or if you want a more balanced carrying position. So when you turn it on, it actually comes up, and you can hear it has your traditional Geiger counter clicking. But if you want to switch it to the gammaDog mode, you just point it into the air, and now you're gonna start getting the tones, and it works exactly like a gammaDog. I even added a cover to protect the switches and the BNC connector. So there's a speaker on and off switch and a couple of other switches, and then there's a BNC connector to where you can hook up a different probe if you want to take very accurate measurements. So if you are looking for a very capable survey meter that can double as a hot rock finder, the gamma line might be just what you're looking for. So without further ado, let's go find some hot rocks, Phil.
Let's get at it.
If it doesn't rain first.
Well, it won't last that long.
Cue the thunder.
Yeah.
One thing I like about this new gammaDog is this handle is so ergonomic that you can grab it like that with one hand and, you know, point it around really easily. Ooh, more this way, it looks like. Yeah, it looks doubly terminated. Great crystal. And not far from that was another little piece of euxenite. And a few feet away is another nice little euxenite crystal. I've got to be pretty close now. And a few feet from that, another similar euxenite, very hot. And at the risk of getting repetitive, here's yet another crystal, very similar. So here's yet another one, just a few feet away from all the rest. A few feet away, just another screaming hot little euxenite. And this one I dug out with my boot. Well, I'm finding so many of these things, and I'm not videoing all of them. Well, it's just one specimen is making all that racket. It better be a good one. There it is. Another nodule of euxenite. So these are the euxenite that I found this afternoon. And I've forgotten, but these are some very special euxenite. Almost all of these have a vein of columbite in them as well. I mean, you can tell they're euxenite because they're just so blazing hot, but they all have this, see that vein of columbite? This guy actually has a little columbite crystal on top of it. I can get it in focus here. Oh, actually, this is the one that has the little columbite crystal sticking out the top. Very interesting. So, yeah, I've not seen this anyplace else. Certainly not in Petaca. This association between euxenite and columbite and how they grow together like this. So this morning it's been raining a lot. So in a pause in the rain, I went to a hot hole. I'm there right now, where in the past I found some nice monazite crystals, but I'm digging right in the pegmatite. So anything I pull out of here, I got to work hard for it. And this one I plucked, after some hard digging, I plucked it right out of the matrix. And I think that this hole is quite promising, but it's going to be a lot of work. All right, finally some success. The hole is still hot. There's some more stuff in here, but I pulled out a big chunk. Yeah. So I know I've got something in there. So let's go up and wash this off and see what we can find. And as you can see, I found some really nice specimens. Just perfect crystals. It just popped right out of the matrix there. And especially this one. This one here is spectacular. Doubly terminated, and it's got a lot of twinning, and especially this crystal here at the top. So that was really nice. But what I was really after was to try to get a crystal in the matrix, and that's exactly what I found there toward the end. You can see that there is a large monazite crystal. Actually, there's two of them. There's another one over here, but there's a huge one right here that's, I think, mostly obscured by the quartz. And it's very interesting. We can see a lot about how these crystals are formed and how they weather out. Because if you look real close, let me see if I can get in here real close. There's actually a little gap. You can see a gap between the matrix and the crystal. That is because of the radioactivity of the crystal. It works, over millions of years, it works on this rock and loosens the bond between the matrix and the crystal. So when it is finally exposed, it'll just pop right out here. Now, another thing you can observe is the darkening of the area around the crystal. The quartz actually changes color. That's called a halo. And that's one of the characteristics of a radioactive specimen in the matrix. Now, it would be nice if more of this crystal were exposed, although I don't necessarily want to remove it completely from the matrix because that's kind of cool in itself. And you can see there's some cracks there, and over here is another crack. And so what I'm going to try to do very carefully is pry those cracks open and see if I can expose some more of this crystal. And you're going to watch as I do it. All right. So I'm going to first work on this little guy here. Yeah, it looks like it's going to pop off nicely. Okay. So that exposed the full length of this crystal. It's a good 1.5 inches long, at least what I can see. So let's see what else. So I'm going to work on this seam here. Ooh, okay. Now, so this is what we see so far. And those were my two big cracks. I don't know if there's another one back here that might pry open. So you can see I've made some progress. And it's got a nice termination here on the end. And when I get home, I'm going to work some more on this end. So I noticed another crack back here, and I started working on it, and wow, it popped away this lower crystal, and maybe something else here, but it also exposed this crystal a lot more. So that's beginning to be quite impressive. Okay, so you can see my car over there, and actually the dogs are walking back to the car right now. And I decided to come over here to the tailings, which I haven't spent a lot of time in, because what I have found here has been a lot of monazite, and not too exciting, but I had a little bit of time before bedtime, and so I ended up finding a few nice monazites here, and I'll show them to you later. But what I can't believe I found this, another giant columbite. I mean, this was wicked hot in the hole, and I just can't believe I found this here in the tailings. I mean, it was just, I could tell it was going to be a big one as I was digging for it, because it was just causing my dog to scream. But isn't that beautiful? Okay, so this is my little surprise haul after dinner. I just wanted to take advantage of the break in the rain, and I think this is almost certainly a monazite just based on the color, and this is probably a columbite, because it's not appreciably hotter than this guy. Now these guys are actually not very hot, so they're almost certainly columbite. Now I assume that this is columbite, and you would expect it to be quite a bit hotter, but this is like off the scales. So I'll have to test it when I get home, but it's almost certainly columbite, and it's just the mass that's causing it to scream so hot. Yeah, this is a really interesting piece. It's got actually some good crystals sticking out of it. So today is starting off a little nicer than the past two mornings. It's still a little overcast, but at least it's not raining. And I came back to the exact same spot that I was yesterday evening when I found these nice specimens, including that nice columbite right over next to that tree. And so I immediately found another nice columbite. So today's starting off pretty nice. So this is what I found so far this morning in about, I don't know, 15 minutes since I've been here. Looks like the three dark ones are probably columbite, and that one up here in the upper right with the reddish color looks like it's probably monazite. I ended up finding this nice, probably columbite, got good crystal form, and apparently there's something else in the hole. And so this is the second one I pulled out of that hole, and there's yet something else down there. And close by is another perfect columbite crystal. I mean, this is really nice. So I pulled this one out of the same hole, these four, and they're either were a pod originally, or maybe they were, one or two of them were part of the same specimen, and they broke. So I'll wash them off and try to put something back together. So I've been pulling these things out one after another. If this hole has a really nice crystal in it, I'm going to show it to you here. And I'm going to see if I can dig it out. I don't want to damage it because it is a big crystal. I can feel the contours of it down here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this with one hand. Gosh, yeah, I can feel the contours of it way out here. So let me be careful, and I'll show you what I get out of here. All right, this is it. Another massive columbite specimen. It's got crystals just growing every which direction. Pretty amazing. Well, I went back to check the hole where that monster came out of, and sure enough, there was another, his little brother, who was sitting there waiting for him. So there was that hole I pulled the monster and his little brother out of, and right below him is another hole that's got a nice specimen, and there's one more down there I'm going to try to get. And this is the second one. It was buried a lot deeper. Started off kind of a weak signal, but I'm glad I kept going on it, because it's got really nice crystal form once I wash it off. So I heard my dogs down the hill, and they wandered off a good ways, and I decided to come down and get them. But the reason they were down here is they got stuck on a rock cairn, and I'm sure this is a rock cairn that I put here because it's a hot spot. So once again, my dogs are helping me find my hot spots. Well, my dogs did a good job finding that rock cairn that I had put there. I wonder if they smelled me on that little rock cairn. And they are stuck over there. So maybe I ought to go check, see what else they've found. So there's that hole where I pulled that monster columbite out and his little brother. And right next to him is the middle brother. Another nice size, beautiful crystal. So these are the specimens I found this morning. It was a very productive morning. And some great columbite crystals. Really spectacular. Some perfect crystals. And very unusual forms. And of course there's this another one of these giants. I'm not sure which one is bigger. This one is the one I found last night. But just look at all the different crystals that are growing out of this in different directions. So that's spectacular. But probably the most interesting find was this one, which I assume was a monocyte. But I'm virtually certain that this is a cerdolite, which is a type of zircon. It's going to be full of zirconium. It doesn't have exactly the right color for the monocytes that I find out here. It's more brown than red. And it's got this divergent growth pattern that you can see there. And it just doesn't look at all like any monocyte that I've seen. So I'm virtually certain that this is a cerdolite, and I found exactly one other out here at North Star. So they are here. They're very rare. So that's the most exciting find right there. And Phil is arriving. Just hope he doesn't run over the dogs. So after lunch, Phil and I were back at North Star, and over there is where I found a lot of columbites in the last few trips, including this trip. So I decided to come on this side of the wash and see what else I could find, and I'm finding more columbites. And I found a fantastic one right down here in this hole, about this tall, a perfect crystal. I'll show it to you later. So it's pretty exciting. And I've got another hot one right here. I also pulled out a little piece of monazite over there. Oh, there he is. Okay, another big lump of columbite. Let me see where I put the first one. Oh, here he is. So here's two of them. Oh, okay. Maybe that was it. Okay. So just two of them. But it's interesting how these two guys could be sitting together in that hole probably for 1,000,000 years. All right. So we're taking stock of what we found today. And we spent the morning at Cribbenville, but we didn't really find very much. I found a few pieces of monazite and something that's, I've got a dark crystal here, and actually some greenish crystals as well. So that'll be interesting to XRF to see what they are. But other than that, everything else we found here at North Star. So it's definitely much more productive here at North Star. And this up here is Phil's haul. He has got some columbites on the top, and then a lot of little monazites there. Some really nice crystal forms in there. This one especially is kind of weird. Not sure what that's all about. But yeah, so that's his haul for last night and today, right? You got here last night and found a few things, and then
a lot of monazite chips.
Yeah, so that was all in the afternoon, and this is my afternoon's haul. I found some big columbites, especially this one it really got really nice crystal form to it. It's massive and just spectacular crystal form to it. And I found a few monazites along the way, but this by far is the most interesting because I pulled all these out of the same hole. And the other thing is that I found two pieces of the same specimen there, and there's probably more because I got another fraction over here. So I'm going to go back to the hole and see if I can find more of this. But what's interesting, I'm going to compare. I've got a little piece of euxenite here, and I'm going to compare that euxenite. You see, it's a screamer. It actually registers. Let me see what it's registering over here. Earlier I was getting it to about 30,000. see if I can. Here we go. So you can hear that it's a screamer. It gets up to about 30,000. So this stuff, if it were euxenite, by the size, it should actually be a lot hotter, but it's not. It's getting up to about 15,000. So it's not in the euxenite territory. It's more in the columbite territory. This columbite over here is getting up to about 15,000. All right. So the other thing that's weird about this specimen is the growth pattern. It's got this divergent growth pattern starting here at the bottom, and that is reminiscent of sertolite. So I'm speculating that all of these could be sertolite.
How about that fracture pattern? The one you said was unique?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's an interesting fraction pattern. I'll show it to you here in the sunlight. You see that? That's very interesting, very unusual, and actually, I believe, yeah, this one has the same fraction pattern over here. So these are probably the same minerals, whatever they are, and they came out of the same hole, so I'm not surprised. So that will be something for me to investigate when I get home, which will be in a couple of days. So it's been probably an hour and a half since Phil and I came out and started digging in our respective holes, and I'm still working on this hole that you saw me videoing earlier. As a matter of fact, the hole itself was right in here, right above my pad. And I ended up cleaning out that hole. I mean, it was dead cold. But I was sure that someplace in here is another piece of that nice big fractured specimen that I've got. So I kept looking around this hole, and finally I detected right at the top of the hole, right in here, yeah, right in about there, a very weak, low growl, but it was consistent. And so I started digging this trench from the top of the hole, following the signal, and now I've got it to this point right here. And I think I'm on the verge of finding it here. So it's gone from a low growl to a screaming hot specimen. So I'm hoping this is going to be another piece of that nice big fractured specimen. So I've gotten into a pod of these crystals. The two on the right, the small ones, are from the hole on the left, and the bigger ones are from the hole on the right. Just all right bunched together. So I'm certain that this is a pod, and that's where these crystals developed. And they were just sitting there all together waiting for me to find them. They're probably columbites. Okay, so I pulled 3 more parent columbites out of that same hole. So I think it's time to quit and have some lunch and maybe come back to this hole again, because it's still plenty hot. So this is just a quick summary of this morning's work. And you remember these from last night, including this big specimen that came in 2 pieces. And I went back to the same hole and got 2 more pieces. I tried to fit them together, but so far I haven't identified that any of these others fit together. And then not far from there, just on the slope, I found a couple more columbites and a nice little monocyte. And then I got into a pod of, evidently these are columbites, but I think I showed you that I pulled 8 of them out of basically the same hole. They're 2 holes right next to each other. But yeah, that's a pretty amazing find that these things must have all grown up together, formed together, and then weathered out together right in the same spot. And of course I had to check to see whether any of these pieces fit together, and there you go, just like a glove. Now this is interesting because you can see what a normal columbite fracture looks like. And when you compare that to the really shiny striated fractures of that other mineral, it really makes me think that that's got to be some other mineral other than columbite. So it's another data point. So this has been an amazing experience. I found arrowheads out here as well. So it all adds to the mystery and the adventure that I have every time I come out to Petaca, New Mexico. And it really makes me want to come back. How about you, Phil?
Yeah, I definitely want to come back.
And what are we going to do when we come back, Phil?
Find more hot rocks.
Hot rocks, all right.